Hello and welcome to City Council Comments. I'm Steve Erickson along with Mayor Jerry Cook. Today we're talking about both the January 2nd and the January 16th City Council meetings. Thanks for coming in today.
Yes, I am happy to be here.
We are back for a new year.
Yes, we are.
And
2018, oh my gosh.
And I was thinking you have a little purple in your tie. I got my purple shirt on.
Little purple.
Today.
Yeah.
We're all excited for the big game this weekend.
I considered the Vikings jersey and I thought, I'll save that.
Yeah, save that for the Super Bowl, right?
I thought this will play after the game Sunday and I'm still a Vikings realist.
Yeah, exactly. We'll cross our fingers there.
That's right.
All right. Well, we'll start off by getting into things here. We're going to start by talking about the first meeting of the year, which is usually an organizational meeting, getting things ready for the year to come. We had a lot of sort of routine actions on that meeting.
Yeah, so it's basically setting up the business of the council for the year. You designate your council secretary, you reaffirm your rules of procedure. You know, we follow the Roberts rules and when the open mic is and how that's structured. Then we designate the official newspaper where all of our postings are for the year. And then we go through the board and commission appointments anytime. If somebody is up for reappointment on a commission, we do the reappointments at that meeting, or the chairman of those commissions. Those commissions are the backbone. So if anybody is interested in participating in those, please look into the commissions on the city website. We have many. And then we do the council appointments. The city council members, we represent the city on visitors bureaus, the fire board, the law enforcement, various committees. So the council members have their various assignments and alternates for those. So that was kind of getting set up for the year and through all that. And then it was to the minutes and off we went.
Yeah, and we also designate our official depository, investment collateral management procedures. We did have one item on here we wanted to note was council adopting a resolution amending the 2018 budget for the Victim Service Grant from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety Office of Justice.
Yeah, and I believe you talked about that here previously, and it's a role in our city attorney's office that works with the victims, the victim representation, and we're getting reimbursed. We have a 2-year agreement where we're getting reimbursed for that, and there's a little offsetting amount that we would owe, but that's being offset by our new partnership with Fridley, because that same victim services person will work with Fridley as well. So.
Okay. Well, that meeting was 20 minutes long. Now, if all meetings were that long, we would have nothing to talk about here.
Yeah, I was guessing the over-under on that would have been 10, but then we thought, well, we should actually spend some time talking about these things. So.
Could have been 30 if we had to list out every board and commission name and
That's
thing.
True. That's
all
true.
Right, so that's all we had from our first meeting of the year again, which was on January 2nd. We'll move along now to our second meeting, which was on Tuesday, January 16th. We had a few additional items on that meeting. One of the first being the oath of office for one of our new firefighters.
It's always exciting when they bring in the John Piper, our fire chief, brings in somebody to be sworn in, or Chief Wise from the police department does the same. But it's really funny because by the time it's not funny, but it's just really great because by the time they come in here, they've been through. The firefighters have been the paid on call. They've been servicing. They've been training. They're through their probation, and they're in. Mm-hmm. And so it's really great to get them sworn in and have all the other firefighters there representing, and it's cool. Tony Nelson, longtime Coon Rapids guy. It's a neat thing.
Yeah, it's nice to see their family members, significant other pinning on their badge. And then also I think too, like you say, the support from the other members of either the police or the fire departments.
They're both there.
Seeing them there is great.
Yeah. I got distracted by his mom because he selected that his mom would pin his badge on, and I watched her put her glasses on, and I thought, well, that's nice, so she doesn't poke him with the badge or the pin.
Yes, want to be able to see that. No accidents or anything. Well, welcome aboard to Anthony Nelson, and great to see him here. Council authorized the execution of amended joint powers agreement. This is for street maintenance materials contract. Scary, we're already talking about road construction, but it'll be here before you know it.
But at this time, all we were doing is, and I guess the reason we wanted to hit on that is that I should get to that meeting. Then I don't even know why I went to the first meeting.
We didn't have much to talk about.
Didn't have much to talk about. So this started in 2004. The cities of Coon Rapids, Andover, Brooklyn Center, Columbia Heights, and Fridley joined together to solicit bids for street maintenance services, basically achieving an economy of scale when you're bidding your seal coating and everything else. And it's been so successful, it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And now, it's eventually Ham Lake, East Bethel, and Oka, Matamidi, Circle Pines, and Mounds View joined. And now the city of Arden Hills and the city of St. Francis have also joined. Okay. So it's a very big pool, and it's some great savings and a lot of economy of scale there.
Yeah, I would say the economy of scale definitely is obviously paying off for these communities. Other communities are seeing that and wanting to get on it as well.
Right. Yeah. It's great when government tries to pinch a penny.
Yeah.
And because in a good way. It's not cutting corners, but just trying to save some money.
All right. And also with street reconstruction, as long as we're on the topic, I know there are some meetings being held. There was one this week. There's one next week, again, with the neighborhoods that are going to be impacted by this year's street reconstruction projects. Yeah.
So primarily this big contract with all the other communities is for the seal coating and striping and things like that. What you're talking about is the big street construction projects we've got coming up this year, and I think we've got 2 large ones that are about 25 or 30 streets each. So if you have gotten your notice, please pay attention to that. We've got some great new videos that you probably worked with Stephanie on.
Yep.
On the city's website. If your street is being reconstructed this year, check those out. It kind of helps you understand what to expect on parking, water, the whole gambit.
Yeah, so those neighborhoods are getting more information right now on those projects. I believe assessment hearings are in February, so we'll be talking about that next month. And then I believe they're also doing something new this year, meeting with the neighbors prior to those projects, which is something interesting. So that's been talked about.
Okay.
Sort of like the summer in the city meetings, but they meet with the neighborhood before a project starts.
Yep, that rings a bell.
So, like I said, before we know it, construction season will be here, and obviously we will be talking about that more here.
Well, it's very obtrusive. If they're reconstructing the street in front of your home, it impacts everything. It impacts you getting home. It impacts where you park your car. It impacts when you shower for work. Mm-hmm. So it's all about managing expectations and understanding the process. Yeah. Because otherwise you end up with people that are very angry because something just happened, and it's like the notice was hanging there. Yeah. You should have read your notice.
Yeah. So it's great to have all these different opportunities for people to learn more about that.
Yeah.
All right. Absolutely. Council approved a service agreement with the Alexandra House.
Yeah. So the Alexandra House is a home that helps battered women, children, and I know there's a way they describe that, and I'm probably not using the right words, but it's a great asset to our community. And folks that need that help, it's a big deal. But also they work with our city attorney's office and our police department, and they've got tools that our staff uses to help discern outcomes or discern what to do with folks. And it's a service that we can say, this is saving us X number of dollars. So annually we approve a contract, and in this case, I think it was $12,500 that we're cutting a check to Alexandra House towards their services. Okay. Doesn't near cover, what this community's demand actually is on Alexandra House. So I encourage everyone to write them a check.
Yeah, they're always certainly looking for donations.
Yep.
They also hold their fundraisers.
Yep.
They have their big walk each year, and there's other ways that you can support them as well.
Yeah. It's a great tool to have here for the folks that are in need of it.
All right. Council considered an ordinance introduction to allow veterinary clinics as a permitted use in the regional shopping district.
Yeah, so it was just kind of an unusual thing. We've got the regional shopping district it's a big deal. It's north of Main Street and east of Round Lake Boulevard, kind of socked in there under 10. It's where Costco and Kohl's and all those are. And they have different rules than our general commercial and other areas of town. And within that section, you couldn't have a veterinary clinic. And whereas I believe it's PetSmart on the south side of Main Street, they do dog grooming, and they partner with a veterinary clinic, so they do clinic care there. So that could happen there, but it couldn't happen at the pet store within the Riverdale Mall. And as long as it doesn't impact the other tenants in the mall, as long as there's no outside runs and there can't be any barking outside or anything audible, it just seemed like a reasonable accommodation. So the council, the planning commission, and then the council has supported changing the ordinance to allow the veterinary clinic or the veterinary hospital within the Riverdale shopping area.
Okay. Like you said, it is that small area. It would just impact that area. But this will come back to council for formal introduction or formal approval.
Formal approval, yeah. This was just an introduction, I believe, right?
The ordinance, yep.
Yeah, an introduction. Yeah, and one of the points, Councilwoman Geisler brought up a great point. She goes, we already have animals that are overnight. You know, if they're selling puppies, they have puppies that are overnight, so why would we care? And I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, definitely. I know someone brought up the issue as far as traffic or people coming there on an emergency basis.
Yeah, will they be offering emergency veterinary services, and could that pose a risk? Somebody panicking, driving in too fast or recklessly with their injured pet, and I think you just have to hope people will do better than that. You know, I mean, we have a hospital with an emergency department in town. We've got an emergency clinic on Coon Rapids Boulevard. It hasn't been a problem anywhere else, so we're assuming people will know how to handle this.
Yeah, and I get the concern in a busier shopping area like that versus, say, Coon Rapids Boulevard. That might be a higher speed thing.
Yeah.
But Councilmember Wells, who was a former police chief, did say that in all his years as a police officer, he's never written a report for a crash of somebody
bringing an animal
heading
to the clinic. Yeah,
so.
Right.
All right. Council amended the facility construction fund budget.
Yes. Probably we should have known something a couple months ago when all of a sudden the fire station said we need a new furnace. And we went, oh, well, it's a 20-year-old furnace. And all of a sudden we should prepare because there's a second furnace in the same fire station too that's the same age. So I don't know that was what sparked it, but that was kind of what made this relevant for me, as they're putting out a request for proposals, an RFP, and they're trying to get firms that will kind of evaluate all of our buildings and not only look at what should we be expecting, windows, roofs, mechanicals, what should we be preparing for to replace, what would make them more functional? If do we have rooms that we don't use anymore? Do we have things that could be made more efficient by adding another door or something? So it's just kind of to do this full overview and help us kind of create some steps forward. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
We were hard to believe that City Hall is already 22 years old come this summer.
Yeah. Well, it isn't when things keep breaking over there.
So you're getting into that area where you're going to be going through. So it's good to be checking these things and sort of developing a plan for how you're going to pay for this stuff in the coming years.
Yeah. And then somebody mentioned at the council meeting, and I don't remember if it was a city manager or not, but apparently they didn't buy the best things either. So apparently the windows left a little bit to be desired. So we've got some updates coming.
All right, so we'll find out more about that here in the coming months. Council approved a resolution amending the Public Communication Fund budget. This is for the purchase of a new lens.
Lenses.
Yeah,
and these are not your mother's lenses.
No,
they're like $65,000 or $68,000. Yeah. But they're going to make us. CTN does outside contracting. We contract out to the Saints, to University of St. Thomas football games, to snowcross. And what that does is it creates a way to subsidize the equipment we have here. We've got some top equipment here, state of the art, and the city of Coon Rapids, nor through its cable access fees, is having to fund it all because we're finding outside funding streams to subsidize it. So basically, it's allowing us to buy some really nice equipment with somebody else's money that then we can use at Coon Rapids sporting events. It'll also make us eligible for other contracts, in the private industry.
Correct, because there's stuff that we're not able to do right now with the current style lenses we have. So these allow you to basically zoom in further, get better shots, but they're heavy, so you can't use them in certain places. Other places you can use them. So a total of about $125,000 it looked like was approved, but this again should allow for some additional opportunities for production services in the future.
Right. If I could have a do-over, that's what I would have said.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. What he said. All right. Moving along, council considered a purchase of a Vector truck for sanitary sewer. We're getting more interesting here as we go.
These are not inexpensive.
Yeah, that is true.
So we're looking at actually buying two, one for Public Works and one for the sewer, which is one of our enterprise funds. And they've decided that we'll keep the one in Public Works in service for a while longer, but the one for the sewer department, because we've got a lot of work coming up this year for it, they're going to replace that one. But they're like $500,000. And but they're necessary. They don't get a lot of miles, but most of what they do is just intense work. And this one, there's a $22,000, I think it was, premium on it, because it will have a heater in the water tank. So when it's suck up all kinds of water, it won't freeze in the tank. They don't have to bring it into the garage to thaw it out. It'll also keep it from freezing. Apparently a big deal.
Sounds like a smart idea.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's why it's nice to have people that know a lot more than us come and give us advice.
Yeah. All right, so we'll be purchasing the Vector truck. Council considered the 2017-2018 insurance renewals. We wanted to talk about this because it's something we talk about all the time about sewer backup insurance.
Sewer backup insurance. So the city pays for no-fault sewer backup insurance, but it's a very minimal amount. It's up to $10,000. And what we encourage people to do is to buy your own sewer backup insurance. If your sewer backs up into your basement, you are going to want to be able to just deal with your own insurance company to get that all fixed. However, in order for us to compensate somebody at all, we have to pay for the insurance. It's a $50,000 deductible. It seems counterintuitive to pay $16,000 to have the insurance, to give us the opportunity to then pay it because we don't go over our deductible. Right. But it's the only way that we can actually compensate somebody if they have a sewer backup. We can't just give somebody money because we feel bad. You know, it has to be investigated, and we have to have the paper trail and justification for the check. So it seems convoluted or a little counterintuitive, but we're opting for the insurance so we as a community can stand behind it, but it does not replace your own sewer backup insurance. Get your own. It's not very expensive, and you will be very thankful if your sewer ever backs up.
Yeah, not that you ever want to have that problem. We've had people that have had that in neighborhoods, and $10,000 is not even enough to cover some of those claims. We saw some that were well above. We heard even $60,000, $75,000.
That was what one of the folks claimed. And I think if you have sewage back up into your finished lower level, depending on how it's captured, retained, and what it all damages.
Yeah, something you don't want to deal with to begin with. Like you said, biggest thing, check with your own insurance. Get that it's an additional coverage. They don't cover it. It's an additional carrier on your insurance.
Yep. Yeah. It's a rider for your homeowner's insurance. It isn't very expensive compared to your homeowner's insurance, and it's if you ever need it, you'll be very thankful you have it.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Council approved some resolutions 1822 and 1823. This calls for a public hearing to vacate public roadway easements.
Yeah, and it's real inside baseball on the Port Riverwalk project, but I guess it was nice to cover this because I wanted folks to know that we are moving forward on the Port Riverwalk. That's the project, the old Coon Rapids Shopping Center on Coon Rapids Boulevard. Centra Homes is still wanting to come in and build detached townhomes there, but we need to clean up some of the title issues, including a couple of these vacated roadways. So that was what we're working on now yeah.
You've set the public hearings basically, so we will be talking about this again in the future, correct?
Yes. I've completely lost it on my form. I shouldn't have looked down.
Public hearings. But that's probably one of the biggest questions you probably do get asked is Port Riverwalk, when is that happening?
When is that
happening? Do we know yet a timeline yet for any development?
No, I mean, I think we're all still hoping that some dirt will turn in 18, but I don't know.
Okay, but nothing concrete at this moment in time.
No, and we need to get moving on it because there's this ticking clock. We are going to get reimbursed as a city through TIF financing for all the money that's been invested in there. And the longer it takes to get it in, the less we're going to be able to recapture. So along with everything else, we want to get a project going there, a good project.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have things happening along Coon Rapids Boulevard already. And we've got some nice projects that have come along there, and this will be the big one.
All right. Council adopted a resolution establishing Bunker Hills Golf Course fees and charges for 2018.
Yes. Most of the fees are staying the same. All of the the golfing fees, and really all they did was tweak some of the patron fees and the subscriber fees. A little bit here and there, $5. It's $1 more for a bucket of balls at the driving range. But when you look at how much has been invested in that driving range that's there now, it's incredible. Yeah. It's a good value.
And probably something newsworthy to mention here is that the golf course is actually celebrating their 50th anniversary this year.
50 years in 2018. So they're going to have a big celebration in July, and they're still going through and replacing, redoing the bunkers. And it's a very exciting year. And that is such a jewel to have in Coon Rapids anyway. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I recently talked to Dick Tillett for an interview. We're doing a special on the 50th anniversary. Yeah. So talked to him. It was fascinating to hear kind of how the course started and all the players and that. And you can watch for that. Coming up here in the spring, we'll be putting out that 50th anniversary video.
Oh, and if you go up, I love going up and standing in the pro shop and looking out those big windows out on the course. And and for Tim Anderson, those are his office windows. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think they kind of laughed at him back then to think that they were going to build a golf course on that location.
Yeah.
And look at what it's grown into.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
All right. Well, we have a couple other things. That's the end of the business items we have to talk about. Before we go, we had the Winter Concert Series kick off earlier this month.
Yeah, kicked off with Sherwin-Linton. I know it was a bitterly cold night, but I still think they had a good turnout.
Yeah.
And that's once a month, right?
Yep.
One Thursday night a month. And so those are fun. It's the coffee and dessert series, I think they call it.
Yep.
Arts Commission sponsors it.
Yep. Dessert and Coffee Concert Series, one every not every Thursday, once a month through April.
Yeah.
And everyone can find those details on the city's website, which is coonrapidsmn.gov, and they have the listing there.
Which is also the place to look for all of the events, things that are coming on in town. If you have a street light blinking in your neighborhood, go there, report it. Shouldn't be blinking or out.
No.
Snowflake Days?
Snowflake Days is the next thing we want to talk about. That is coming up quickly here.
And what did you guess? September 20 or
January
25th.
Yep.
Starts with the events at the Senior Center over here.
Yep.
Bingo, maybe.
Yep.
And then we've got the Miss Coon Rapids pageant coming up on the 27th, if that's the Saturday. 26, 27.
Yep. It's usually a 2-day, Friday, Saturday thing. And then many other events over the course of that. I believe there's a family fun day at one point. And many other events. You can also find those by going to the city's website. Yep. And there's a link to all the events going on during Snowflake Days.
Yeah. And most of them will have happened before we get to our next city council meeting, because that won't be until Wednesday, February 7th. Our first council meeting in February will be moved because the caucuses are Tuesday the 6th. So our first city council meeting will be Wednesday, February 7th.
Amazing. We're also already starting the election process for 2018.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I'm going to a gubernatorial candidate forum tonight.
Yeah. Not presidential, but we do have the gubernatorial race here in Minnesota, along with several other seats here on the council and other things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We got three seats, including my own this year.
There you go. Time to start thinking about that. Maybe you'll have a big announcement coming up on a show one of these days. All right. Well, that's all I have for today, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I don't think so. I'm just going to enjoy this 42-degree weather. And
I saw that before there was 40. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And continue to hope that all this purple brings us good fortune.
Yeah. Cross your fingers. All right. We appreciate you being here today watching. Thank you at home for watching, and we'll see you back here after our next meetings in February.